But what a response this has been from Leicester City. A rapid start, the opener given to them by Bobby Daycourt over Reed, but pegged back only 3 minutes later by Rhian Brewster. It was Jordan James, as it so often is, that proved the difference for the Foxes. His goal just before half-time is the one that won it in the end. They had to ride their luck at times in the second half, but Leicester City sign off a very difficult 2025 with all 3 points. The Foxes' focus looks forward now to 2026. Full time at King Power Stadium, and it's finished. Leicester City 2, Derby County 1.
Charlie, we'll stick with Jerry, who was on co-commentary duty for us. Jerry, that was a really nice way to end the year, wasn't it? That 3 points, and they worked really hard in that second half.
Yeah, I mean, chalk and cheese from the other day, wasn't it? The performance levels, Dan. I mean, just right at the end there, Steffi Mavididi, Luke Thomas, absolutely chasing Derby down to make sure that one goes out of play and Derby don't get momentum. And you know, the performance levels today were really, really good, and that's what happens when you perform at a certain level. You get the rewards for it. Obviously, there was the 2 bits of quality from James and Deckard over Reed, but ultimately it's about the team performance levels that saw them through today, and they looked the fitter team, Dan.
Yeah, we're just seeing shots of Martis Fuentes going to pretty much every single player, Jerry, in the group, and rightly so. They've all put in a real shift, haven't they, Dan?
Well, I mean, it's been a tough few days, hasn't it, for Martis Fuentes, and the players, and the fans, everyone associated. So, I mean, a big sigh of relief in a really tough game today to get over the line. So yeah, that'll hold them. Hopefully, I said it before, but hopefully that'll hold them in good stead moving on.
Yeah, does it feel like a good atmosphere right now inside King Power Stadium, Jerry?
Yeah, I mean, a good 2/3 of the fans have probably left, but I mean the players are going round all 4 corners of the ground now, and rightly so. They're receiving applause. They're applauding the fans, and you know, the fans are showing their appreciation for the performance that they've put in today.
Yeah, the camera's panned on JJ at the minute, is smiling, very happy, clapping the supporters, and rightly so. Another brilliant performance from him and a really well taken goal.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, proper finish, really, wasn't it? Not an easy finish. Had a lot to do. Technique was absolutely spot on. The run, spot on, and that's one of the reasons why I firmly believe that's his position, because he's got the energy to make those long busting runs forward and finish balls off. Other than that, Ben Nelson I thought was absolutely immense this evening as well. So, you know, special word for him.
Yeah, interesting there to see Martis Fuentes, Jerry, making a real point to say thank you to the supporters there.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a tough time. It's been a topsy-turvy time of late, hasn't it? A lot of people scratching their heads when they see a performance like that, a performance like Ipswich, and then some of the other performances that have been mixed in between. So, you know, and he's got to try and keep everybody on side, because, you know, at the minute he's finding it a bit tough. The players are finding it a bit tough, but we know that they have the capabilities of pushing up this league, and it's just, I don't know. Well, nobody knows what the key is or what the magic ingredient is, but we're all praying for that key word, which is consistency.
There we go, mate.
He's run out of gas.
He's run out of gas. We'll come back to Jerry at some point there. Simon Grayson and Matt Elliott, former Leicester City defenders, join me, Dan Bates, in the studio. And we can afford to smile, we can afford to laugh after 3 points. A good way to end the year. We'll come on to that in a moment. But Jerry made some really good points there, actually, about the performance, didn't he, Simon, in particular, and the way that they ground that out in the second half. And you said yourself, actually, and we shouted at you for saying it, with 10 seconds to go of added time. But you said in that 7 minutes, which could have been a really worrying 7 minutes, they didn't really cause any problems, did they, Dan?
Oh, look, I think when you look at the performance, it was a real good workman-like performance. I don't think either goalkeeper had too many saves to make. There wasn't loads of free-flowing opportunities, passing and movement. But it was a performance that you had to have, given the result last time out at the King Power Stadium, where it was a disappointing performance and result. Tonight, you've got to get back to winning ways, whatever it takes, whether it's a good free-flowing attacking performance or you just grind out the performance. And I think when you look at the game tonight, there was 2 really good goals. The defence defended well. They didn't allow Derby to have too many opportunities. I think the manager's substitutions were really good, affected the game, brought that youthful exuberance on with the young kids coming on. They had an outlet running over the top. But they were together as a group and as a team. And when you work together as a group and as a team, you can have more success than not. And as I mentioned, that 7 minutes there, I don't think the goalkeeper, apart from maybe the one deflection, didn't have anything to really have any concern about.
Yeah, it was pretty much, well, the second 52 minutes almost, wasn't it? You know, in the second half, there was, like you say, Larry, there wasn't too much goal mouth action either end. In fairness, I think the nearest Leicester came to scoring was a goal by
the header, wasn't it, from
by
the
the defender, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The Adams was it? I think not towards the keeper, but tipped over the bar. But that'll do for Leicester. You know, it was a determined, sort of concentrated effort, disciplined effort. That's what's been lacking a little bit from their play. It's all well and good, you know, looking quite attractive on the eye at times, not often enough. But you've got to have at least 2 sides to your game, really. And Leicester haven't always had that. But tonight, the basics, the important ingredients, they were there. They were there, weren't they? And
I think any Leicester supporter going home tonight will have seen a team that has given everything on the pitch tonight. They've not, none of them will go home and say, well, he didn't affect the game in terms of out of possession, because what Coach Watch told me that you can never have a bad game without the ball. You can have a bad game with it, but nobody can stop you from running around and pressing and tackling and chasing lost causes. And
well,
I think
you shouldn't have one.
Yeah. But the Leicester players did that in abundance tonight and grinded out a result which has been a massive response after the weekend.
Yeah, Jerry, quite often this season there have been games, I'm just thinking off the top of my head, Portsmouth at home, Wrexham at home, where they've been really good in the first half and then let things slip in the second, but they very much made sure that wasn't the case this evening.
Yeah, I mean, the work rate, the determination, and, you know, Simon mentions the subs that came on. Those as well, you know, Silkle Thomas getting his body in the way, making it difficult for Clark coming over the top. Young Louis Page getting on the ball, using his body well, drawing free kicks. And all this is part of the game. It's all part of running the clock down, getting your team a little bit of momentum, taking the pressure off your back players. And then obviously you've just got to keep working hard as a team, doing the basics right, which I thought for the most part they did. And okay, you're not going to win every game of football, but I've harped on about this. The championship isn't always about who plays the best football. It's about who's the most resilient. And resilience is what Leicester showed tonight. Apart from looking, you know, fitter than Derby towards the end, which obviously the substitutions help with, but resilience is what builds momentum, especially at this level, in the majority of the games, I would say. There are times where you're going to be able to strut your stuff and play your fancy football, but in the main, you're just going to have to grind it out, and tonight they grind out a result.
So Tags, Matthew here, by the way, if you hadn't realised. You mentioned there about the doggedness and the resilience in the performance. There hasn't always been obviously apparent in Leicester's games. You know, sort of inconsistency has been there. It's a tricky one to answer, I know, but what's the key going forward to provide that consistency with that application? Does it come from the manager? Does it come from the players themselves? A bit of both.
I think everything, I don't know whether Simon will agree with me, but I think initially everything comes from the manager, and then it filters into the individual's brains. They take on board what they want, they listen to what they want, and they, if they want to follow his instructions, they do. If they don't, they won't. So there's no one golden nugget that's going to fix this issue, because we've seen it too often this season. I just hope that they learn by working hard and putting their bodies on the line, challenging for the amount of headers Ben Nelson won today in the box with crosses coming into it was phenomenal. Yeah, and that's what you want to see every week. But like you say, it's not always the case. So I don't know the answer, Matt. I don't know the answer or the key, but I mean, everybody has to take responsibility when, forget about the results, when the performance levels aren't as they should be. Tonight was as it should be, performance-wise.
Yeah. You see, Jerry, sorry to cut in, but you see the level of performance against Ipswich. You see the level of commitment tonight against Derby, and then you see the adverse, the opposite almost, in the previous two games. So it's just sort of shaking your head a little bit, but I'm sure the manager's been telling them the right things. It's just up to the players to perhaps realise themselves, Larry. I don't know.
Yeah, look, I think
have that belief in themselves as a group.
I think as a manager, you can try and pass on as much information as you can do, sort of the motivation of telling the players you're good players, but sometimes
they've got to believe it.
They've got to believe it themselves, but also some of the players are probably not good enough really to take this club to where they want to get to. That's being brutally honest. I look at that group and I don't see this Leicester team being a team that really are in the same league as Coventry's, Middlesbrough at this moment in time. But they can still
But
get...
we've seen them compete and be really good against it.
Yeah, but what I'm saying there is
they
they can still do it because they have got some key players. I'm talking about the whole consistency of... That's why there's been a lot of inconsistency in performances, because of some of the players are just probably not up to the level of what Leicester supporters are demanding. That's with the ball. Out of possession, it doesn't stop anybody from running around, making a tackle, no matter how old you are, where you've played, your experience you've got. And they've got to probably do the ugly side of the game more than maybe some of the other side at times.
Yeah. See, I would probably beg to differ a little bit. Having watched Leicester all the time, don't get me wrong, hasn't always been a perfect, far from it for large parts. But I think there is that at this level. I think there is that potential to go and compete at the top of the league. Perhaps there isn't the depth, maybe.
Yeah. That's
which
probably
you're
where
probably
I'm more
referring
talking
to.
about, yeah.
Yeah, there isn't the depth, possibly. Depends how the young players develop and fare, but they have to develop really quickly. But I think I think sometimes not believe themselves, but remind themselves that they have to apply themselves like that. That they're not a level above other people in this league, because they played in the Premier League. Some of them doesn't mean you're the greater ability. You have to match the two, marry the two, don't you? And I think when you see that, you see the results tonight. Leicester weren't at their best, but it was a tight game, But I think Leicester edged it really overall. Ipswich, they were superb, and I don't know, maybe you're right about the inconsistency, but I think they have that ability. If they can just, the manager talks about it, doesn't he? Even he finds it hard to explain. He said, there's almost a mental block a little bit with these players, and he's trying to remedy it.
Yeah, and what he's trying to get through to the players are getting over that stumbling block of getting 5, 6, 7 games unbeaten with 4 or 5 wins and maybe a couple of draws, and that really takes you to the next level. You get your confidence back. I like the young kids that came on, to be fair. 2 or 3 of them affected the game really well. I'm not to say that you start them every week, but they certainly they've got no baggage. They ran around, they affected the game, they had energy, they had some good quality. I'm not saying they're going to perform like that every week, but tonight and maybe games going forward, he could use them a little bit more often, possibly.
Yeah, a word on those young players, Jerry. They came on, didn't they? And I'm just thinking Page in particular, obviously he came on for the substitute. I mean, we were talking about Aaron Ramsey, his luck is just, it's so disappointing, isn't it, that hopefully we'll hear some good news post-match on Aaron Ramsey. Page then came on, he looked really bright, Jerry. He wanted the ball all the time, didn't he? Monga, we know what he's got. Silko Thomas has shown in the last month what he's capable of.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I thought, you know, Jeremy Munga aside, as you say, you know, he just lights the place up when he steps on the pitch. I thought Louis Page really took the game to Derby. You know, difficult circumstances. You know, you're the guy who's come on as sub has had to come off, and you're having to go on for him. And he didn't let that, you know, filter down into his game. He when he had the ball and he was facing goal, he was, you know, really positive running forward, trying to commit defenders, used the ball well, drew a couple of really good free kicks that just took the sting out of the game. So yeah, I think he had a really good, what was it, 15, 20 minutes, something like that. And obviously Jeremy Munga, Silko Thomas up front as well. You know, just used his body really well. You know, he's up against a giant of a centre half in Clark, but you know, he didn't let that faze him. He knows he's not going to win the majority of headers, but when the ball's coming in at knees, chest, waist, height, and he made it difficult for Derby to, you know, to win the ball cleanly and get back on the front foot.
And when you look at the pitch at the end, there was Stolarczyk in goal, academy graduate, Luke Thomas. Then you've got those lads we've mentioned in those forward areas. Hamza Chowdhury, obviously, he went off injured, didn't he? Ben Nelson was in there, academy graduate. There's so much to like, isn't there? As a supporter, you're looking at that and you're thinking, that makes you proud.
Well, we said before the game that it was a young bench, wasn't it? And they came on and affected the game. As a manager, you want this, when you make substitutions, you want to make sure that the players affect the game, and they did. And every supporter loves to see one of their own. We've got more than one in the team, to be fair. You've mentioned 6, 7 players there. And that's where you will get a little bit of inconsistency as well. But we talk about, I've mentioned the older players being a little bit inconsistency as well. But these younger players, supporters love seeing them come through the system. But there's also hope and a pathway for other players, maybe who are 13, 14, 15 now, thinking, oh wow, if we keep working hard, Leicester City is a club that will give you your debut early on in your career, and you might be able to be in the first team very quickly, because that's where the club is at this moment in time.
Yeah, I think that's one major plus point. The training ground. I mean, sometimes, you know, there's differing views on the effects of the training ground, but I mean, with the youngsters coming through, I think it's a big attraction. Like being a Category 1. I know we're going a bit off track there, but if we're talking about youth players coming through the years, Category 1 sets up, amazing place to go and learn your trade. And that will draw the top players coming through, and the quality of the coaches, etc., the facilities, all filters through, hopefully. And I think that's the biggest plus out of the training ground down the line. We're already seeing evidence of it with the amount of youngsters. I know the hand's been forced to touch, but...
Well, if you think about it, they moved in 2020, they moved to that training ground. So Monga will have been, 11?
Yeah.
11. So, you know, he's coming in, then he's had his real pathway there at Seagrave,
But
which proves it's there. And
you can have the best facilities in Europe, in the world, but if there's no pathway and opportunities for the young players,
Leicester's set up
but at least Leicester are giving the younger players a pathway and throwing them into the mix at 15, 16, 17 years old. You can have the best facilities, and you maybe never get an opportunity because somebody's not going to give you that chance.
Well, that's why I think in conjunction with each other, those two aspects there, you know, Leicester notoriously give opportunities to youngsters. You know, the list is endless, isn't it, over many years, but certainly the last decade or so. So anyway, that's a side issue, but hopefully, you know, they'll get more and more time, and they'll become not considered youngsters anymore. They'll be considered regular members of the squad stroke team. And hopefully that time's not too far away. It'd be great if they could, you know, get up to speed that quick. But I just feel sooner or later, I always think hunger is a big part of a team's doing well, like camaraderie, togetherness, etc. The players, not just for their own pride, but like together, they speak about it, and they speak well when you see them in interviews. Numerous players, you know, about their ambition, their determination to get Leicester to where most people think Leicester should be. Certainly, people within the club. They don't go shouting the odds, but it's almost like, you know, internally there is a determination to get there, and if that can develop, like, you you know, a real desire, a real ambition, week in, week out. Not fits and starts. It's got to be. You know, well, it's difficult to answer because, you know, said it to Jerry, what is the key ingredient? But sooner or later it clicks, and hopefully this is the time.
Again, I think it goes back to doing the basics right as well, doesn't
Yeah.
it? Hard work. Every supporter, I've mentioned
First
this
and
before,
foremost,
every supporter up and down the country, no matter what team you support and follow, you want your players to run around, be committed, and anything after that, they'll be happy with a draw or defeat or a win. But at least if you're running around showing that you're determined, you're representing the badge that you're wearing, people will forgive you if you have a bad game or lose a game
And you
sometimes.
saw that tonight.
Yeah, definitely. Jerry, you mentioned Ben Nelson. You gave him a special nod a little bit earlier. He and Akoli did really well tonight, didn't they? They did look solid.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and there was, dare I say it, more leadership qualities from Ben this evening than there was the other night against Watford. So, and what I mean by that, instead of when balls are coming into the box, he was the one that was, I'm not saying he was saying it on the pitch, I couldn't hear him, but it looked to me as if he was the one that was taking the lead and making sure that when he went to attack the ball, he was getting his head on it, and he won, God, I can't remember, but it was at least 5 or 6. He made a couple of really good blocks as well. I think one was a Clark was through on goal, and he came across and got a big block on it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, again, showing good leadership qualities, and you know, helped along with Caleb Akoli, who, you know, did the simple things well, did the basics well this evening. I mean, when he was in control, when he was in possession of the ball, he had one touch and played it forward. He didn't try and look for, you know, the little 10-yard pass all the time. So he did the basics well, didn't make any mistakes, and then defensively, Adjaman probably suited him, to be fair. You know, similar height, similar build, similar pace, and them two just go toe-to-toe. But yeah, I mean, that's the key to defending is, number one, don't make any mistakes if you've got the ball at your feet. And number two, you know, you've got to work as a unit. You've got to support your fullback, your centre half, your keeper. And I think the Perlam did that really well tonight.
Tags, I think you summed it up well there in terms of, you said the back four did the basics right. I think the whole team did the basics right, didn't they? They won second balls. They didn't mess around in key areas where they're trying to play out through the back. I think more times than not, the goalkeeper went long more times than not.
Yeah.
But it was on to play out from the back that did it. And they're just doing basic things that you see on a football pitch that players' decision making is up to them to make them decisions. So if you've got a chance to play out from the back, do so. But if somebody's pressing, you play a bit longer. And I think the whole team played a real sort of basic and did the basics really well.
Yeah, I think, you know, the second goal comes from exactly that. Luke Thomas just puts the ball into the space in behind. You know, in that position, you're expecting a Leicester City player to get the ball down, play a square pass, or play it back to the centre half, and just see the half out. But no, he decides, you know what, I'm just going to put one into the space. Oh, and lo and behold, guess who's running onto it? But Jordan James. Oh, look at that, it ends up in the back of the net. And that's just by playing those types of balls that probably no one's expecting, because that's not been the style of football that Leicester have, you know, employed in recent times. But it just shows, just by making those split-second decisions, doing the basics right, taking the pressure off your back line, the next thing you know, it's not going to happen every time, I know that, but it just shows that what can happen if you just do the basics right and make those decisions early.
Yeah, very theatrical. Thank you very much there, Jerry. You're looking pretty cold as well, so we'll let you come inside.
Hallelujah.
Thank you very much. Last couple of questions to you guys then, and really I'll go to you, Simon, on, you know, tough game away at Sheffield United on New Year's Day. But does a win like that, does it galvanise you as a manager, as a group of players, that you've got a good win off the back of two disappointing results? You think, right, we're going to now bounce into that game?
Yeah, look, confidence will be certainly improved by getting a good performance tonight as well. Look, two two tough games. Sheffield United away, then West Brom here, I think, on the 5th, I think it is. So 2 big games, but the games that Leicester will now feel that they're going into where they can go and get something. Losing tonight would have been difficult. 3 games on the trot, losing, going to Sheffield United, who I think have won tonight. And Chris Wilder's really turned them around, got some good players. Bramall Lane's a good, difficult place to go, but confidence will be increased because of the performance today. What they've got to do at the weekend is make sure they show the same in desire, same hunger, same passion, and then we'll get another result off the back of it.
Fingers crossed. Yep, that game on New Year's Day, as ever, will be available with us here on Fox's Hub. So, as every game is this season, you can follow all of the action with us. It is a 5:30 kickoff, thankfully a little bit later on New Year's Day. So that means we'll be live from 5 p.m. for the first game of the new year. There are international half-season passes available for £90. They're very good, particularly if you're obviously outside the UK there. You can watch pretty much every single game with us on Fox's Hub. If you're here in the UK, this will be a good time to get your Listen Live monthly pass at the start of the new month of January. That's just £5 a month there. Thanks as ever to Jerry. Thank you very much, Matt, for your company.
I'm not sure that New Year's Day is quite late enough.
And thank you to Simon Grace for coming in. We'll see you next week as well, won't we, for the West Brom game? If you bring this good luck that we've seen with 3 points, then we'll certainly have you back. Thank you very much to both of you. I hope everyone has a fantastic new year, and we'll be back again on New Year's Day, of course, for that game with Sheffield United. But the Foxes have rounded off a relatively difficult year with a win this evening. See you later.